Good evening and welcome back to The Weird and the Wonderful with Strange Bones. That's me. So, as requested, we are going to be continuing tonight with our theme of survival and survival kits. And part of it is why a survival kit is very, very, very important and why it in fact is secondary. Now you might think that's an odd thing to say, but it's because a kit is only as good as its use. And there are a number of aspects of it that I think the modern view of these things gets slightly wrong. But of course this is entirely my opinion based on my experience, etc, 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 so you may take it or leave it as you so desire. But with that said, I'm going to remind everybody that there is on this channel but one rule, and the rule is please don't be rude or we will give you the boot. And I'm sure it would be a bad thing to have to give people the boot. But nevertheless, we shall do so. That said, however, you may agree or disagree. It's entirely up to you. And as long as you're polite about it, you may share those and are in fact encouraged to do so. We do enjoy it when you share your opinions and all the rest of it. So absolutely do that. You are more than welcome. We like it. Definitely like. Hearts are free to give. So send lots and lots and lots. It helps the algorithm. Comment, even if it's just a hi, because comments tell the algorithm that we are alive. So do that. And then, of course, share, because we want to grow the community, and subscribe. Subscriptions are always so nice. And as a reminder, we do things on the weird and the wonderful with me, Strange Bones, because after all, we are curious about everything, and we neither promote nor deride anybody's particular culture or opinion. We do this wholly and solely for our own education and amusement. I always encourage you to have a good cup of coffee to make life better. I have mine. Tando, welcome. I hope you're in fine form. And tonight, because tonight, for no reason other than the fact I even have a small glass of something special to make life wondrous, because we can. So we've been talking about survival kits, and the problem with survival kits is, first of all, you need to understand them. Second of all, you need to know how to use them, which means prior training and education. And thirdly, they are only useful as an improvement to the self. Hey Jacob, welcome, glad to see you here. So they're no good if you have nothing to improve upon, as it were, so to speak. So they require more of you, and preparation, as always, is absolutely the key to their being any good. So we need to talk about what you actually do need as well, and this, of course, is in response to a request by one of our viewers. So we're going to start with a quick look at the history of survival kits and their evolution, because we have the military to thank for a lot of their creation, absolutely, but they have evolved very much for the military, and most of us are not military. We may have been at one point, but the key point in many ways is that we need to remember that a soldier is, after all, a specific person in a specific place doing a specific job. and is trained for the doing thereof, whereas most of us are not that. And with that in mind, it might not be as useful to have exactly the kit they have. Hey Tash. So we need to make sure to modify to suit what we can do, will do, and are trying to achieve, which is not the same thing. We also need to talk about things that are never discussed in survival channels, such as time. Time matters. Seasons. Seasons matter alongside geography, and similar such things that will modify what you carry, why you carry, how you carry, and all the rest of it. We also need to mention legalities, because there are many things that a soldier can carry that you cannot. Now you might say, but in a survival situation, yes, that's true, but you need to have the kit prior to that, which means that there are going to be certain limits. And obviously we are not promoting you to be doing anything illegal. So naturally that would be bad. There are things that might be very, very useful to be able to do and achieve in a survival situation that in a normal environment would not be considered allowed. And you may make of that as you will and attend to it as you will. We will talk briefly about such things, but nevertheless. So, the history of survival kits. Well, they obviously evolved from primitive tools way back in the day, things that people realized you needed to manage life. And certain ones were as true way back then as they are today. Some kind of cutting tool, a means to make fire, and so on and so forth, obviously have affected these things. Natural disasters have shaped them. Outdoor recreation has shaped it. Urban environs have changed it. Modern developments, technology has changed things naturally, and of course the whole rather touchy subject of self-defense, which we will have to talk about. So survival kits originated from primitive tools for dealing with the environment in which you are and the utilization of available resources where you are. This gives us two very, very key points. Number one, dealing with where you are, and then making use of the resources where you are, which means your kit must be tailored to where you are. Historical advancements naturally have made things a lot easier. Super lightweight materials have allowed for the carrying of things that otherwise would be almost impossible. And multi-tools and things have made things very portable and versatile. So we've certainly got a lot available. Wars and natural disasters significantly impacted what is carried and the possibility of such things. Specialized items for emergency scenarios and so on and so forth. The rise of outdoor recreation has made people more aware of things that need to be carried for sustainment out there and so on and so forth. And of course, the problem of urban environments has given both advantages from the environment and disadvantages. For example, dust issues and the fact that many materials used in construction in an urban environment, if burning, can be very toxic, means that you need to handle that, which wouldn't necessarily be the case in a rural environment. So we need to think about such things and tailor accordingly. Now, you can trace your use of a survival kit back to the first napped stone that was used as a hand axe right the way along. And pretty much the gear they carried is the same today, just improved a very great deal. We know, of course, geography plays a large role. If you are living in a desert environment, your need for fishing gear is pretty limited. Whereas if you're in a coast or island area, that would be a major value. So exactly what to carry, how much of what to carry, again, it's all about what's around you. Now, preparedness is the key, and this means preparedness in choosing your gear, but preparedness in your skill set, and understanding your environment naturally is very critical to all of this. So when you make your choices, you have to do it well in advance and then prepare. Decent preparedness gives you a safety net, a minimization of the risks that will turn up, and gives you a plan so you can respond effectively even in a panicked situation. It means that you can manage resources to a certain degree and figure out how to deal with all of that. So naturally, that's important. It means that your resilience, huge thanks for those likes, eh? Spooky, how are
Good
you
evening.
doing? We have
I'm
just
good.
got started. And yes, we are doing all of the stuff that you said you would like to hear. So, we're just doing a quick intro for everybody to let them know what the story is, so you have missed nothing.
Listen.
Yeah, so the key takeaway so far is the point that as great as gear is, it's secondary. Preparation and skill set is what comes first, because without the skills and prep, the gear is useless. So, as you correctly said in the last live, we do have to make a plot and a plan. And that is where we are going with this. So yeah, your safety, your resource management, and your community resilience, the possibility to prep not just yourself, but your family and possibly other people in your community to make a preset team who can manage in a disaster situation and look out for each other, always useful. And of course, most importantly, right at the very base of everything, remember that survival on any level is mental. You need to be psychologically ready and have a focus. And without that, nothing, not even skills, will assist you. You have to mean to survive and have a reason to survive. It keeps you going when things are tough. So absolutely, we will have to speak on that. But we're starting with the evolution of the kits and why it's come to what it is. So we've begun, of course, with your basic chipped off piece of rock as an axe and rubbing two sticks together for fire making right in the beginning. But we haven't changed. We still need that base cutting tool. We still need the means to make a fire. We've just got far better versions, if you will, but the same thing. So we can learn a lot from history. Traps and snares are always useful if there are available wildlife. So you need to know where you are, what you are, and how you are. And initially, even those things won't help you because of the problem of time, which we are going to deal with as well. So woven baskets, interestingly enough, were very, very popular in primitive times for throwing things into, because you could use them not only to carry your gear, but to gather as you moved. Naturally, that was a big deal, and that hasn't changed even today. Knowledge of local plants and animals was essential. There's no good saying, well, I'll find things I can eat from the wilderness, if you don't know what they are. There are many things you cannot eat. And as the old joke goes, everything is edible once. It's whether or not it's edible a second time that it counts. So yeah, you've got to keep that in mind. So tools are not just about being handy, they are about innovation and adaptability. And so your gear can, should, and will change dependent on your skill set, how you have learnt to use what's around you. A perfect example as well of how geography affects that. There was a guy I know who had a very, very nice survival kit, so to speak, and he never carried water. Now, for somebody in our country, as you know, that's virtually unthinkable. But he lived in the Scottish Highlands where almost every stream was drinkable, and if it wasn't within 100 feet of you, wait 5 minutes, it will rain. So clearly water was not a serious issue for him. Whereas in South Africa, where almost all water sources are not drinkable, and we have a very arid environment for a lot of places, it's a major issue. Whereas in contrast, for us, shelter is much lower on the list. We live in quite a hot environment. We rarely need to worry. So it's about balancing to your geography as well. Now, as you can imagine, the world wars affected survival massively and created innovative designs and materials which have increased durability and functionality. So multi-tool knives, which in the modern day has evolved into things like the Leatherman and what have you, yeah, they are that good. In fact, I saw the other day on the internet, you might be interested, Spooky, there's a South African multi-tool which is about a third of the price of things like Leatherman and just as good quality, that's now been launched. There are also a number of folding knives that are really good. I don't know if you know Honey Badger, South African brand, very good quality, very cheap for us compared to the overseas things. I actually have carried a Honey Badger for over 10 years, and I think I've had to sharpen it 3 times despite it being in my pocket every single day. So yeah, really, really good quality, D2 steel, perfect EDC knife, comes in varying shapes and sizes to suit your preference, very hard wearing. So there are a number of great things to assist you, and I would heartily advise you looking into both Honey Badger and the South African multi-tool, whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head, but there are adverts all over TikTok for it, actually. Lightweight materials. Yeah, I have a emergency Mylar tent and a Mickey, hello, and an emergency lightweight sleeping bag that's small enough to fit in the palm of my hand in both cases. So as you can imagine, for an emergency, look, it's not hard wearing and it's not long wearing. Mickey, are you good?
Okay, thanks for yourself.
Good. How are you feeling?
I'm doing okay, thanks.
I am very glad to hear that. Now
Back at
that
home
is,
now, so
ah,
it's good.
great. Much better. Did you have a good New Year?
Yeah, it was nice. But I went
Ah.
to bed like at 8:30, so
Hey, you're talking to an old person. Believe me, I
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, there was no reason to wake up. But then I did wake up because of all the freaking fireworks.
Well, there you go. I believe
So
Endless Thoughts, who normally does not deal with such things because the family is Jehovah's Witness, so they don't celebrate. But she nevertheless snuck outside to watch other people's. So it didn't count. Just so as you know.
oh, okay.
Yes,
That's all right.
you're allowed to watch if it's not yours doings. So yeah,
Exactly.
tonight we're discussing the evolution of survival kits and the things they never tell you about survival. So I hope you'll find that interesting.
Yeah, sounds
So yeah,
cool.
multi-tools absolutely, lightweight tents and things. As I say, I have the Mylar ones, which they're so small and light that I can carry them really easily, and it will last me for 2 or 3 days before it damages. Which means that for survival, it's perfect. Now, in our country, water is the thing. So, a decent water purification system is absolutely critical because almost all water in our country is not drinkable unless you're right up in the Dragon Mountains. So, there, yes. Anywhere else, I wouldn't even dream of trying without a purification. Not just filter, purification. So if you have something like a life straw, that will take out almost all giardia and the rest of that kind of cryptosporidiums. That's what you need. And they are portable and lightweight. The one I showed you guys the other day will be good enough for 20,000 liters, which absolutely will last me. So yeah, that's the key point. There are other ways, boiling and so on and so forth, absolutely. But it's nice to have something you can just straight drink. And then the importance of emergency rations is hard to beat. And we can learn a lot from the way that they make ration packs and things because it's calorie dense, high energy, and sustainable, but light and compact. And you can make versions of it very easily yourself without much effort. And interestingly enough, the contents are very similar to the contents that even people like the ancient Vikings would have carried, just so as you know. So, yeah, absolutely. Oh no, Mickey vanished. No, she did. Well, maybe it's her network not being kind. Nope, she's back. Hello. Sometimes the network is so exciting. On and off.
Woo!
On and off.
I'm
Awesome,
downloading
awesome.
a game. That's the problem.
Ah, of course. What game are you downloading?
Heroes, the Mighty and the Magic. It's like a strategy game.
I know it well. I've played 2 or 3 versions of it, so
Yeah.
it is fun.
I just downloaded pretty much all of them, so
That's cool. They're well worth doing.
oh yeah, so fun.
Now, one of the things that is important in terms of gear is the realization of not just its use and hardware wearability, but also its comfort in use, because you need to remember that you probably will be doing a lot more work with them than you normally are used to doing. So handles on knives and tools that fit your hands well, decent grip, control in critical situations. If you've never done it, one thing you might not realize, I have butchered animals in the past for hunting and stuff, and you'll be amazed at how slippery it gets. And yeah, that's when accidents happen and injuries happen. So the kind of gear that has really good grip no matter what becomes important. So yeah, just a thought in that regard. So modern advancements do cover this. It is something that's become more so because nowadays outdoor recreation is a big deal. Physical and mental well-being, hiking, camping, kayaking and all the rest of it is a big deal. So a lot more science and technology has been put into the gear because of the popularity, which is obviously a great advantage. But again, people often don't think. Now, geography dictates much. And I'm going to keep saying that because in the system that I work from, your kit is layered in accordance to your immediate and important uses. So you will have your primary gear, which is on your body all the time. You'll have your tool gear, which is separate to your sustainment gear, and will include all of that stuff that you should have with you as soon as you leave where you are staying. So if you make camp, you will probably leave your sustainment gear in camp because that's the biggest, bulkiest and heaviest and not needed all the time. But you want your tools with you. So they're separate to sustainment, which includes things like tents, blankets, most of your food and water, which is very heavy, your cooking gear and stuff, because you're only going to use that in camp as compared to all the other gear. So it's about thinking again. Thinking is what keeps things working. You don't think, you die. It's a fact. Smart technology does make a major difference. We all have cell phones. They're useful, but they require battery. A means to charge them while out and all the cables for it, absolutely important. You can get GPSs on your phone. You can get storage for files and things to have all kinds of books on survival that you could put on a memory card, which is tiny, and you can just slot it in your phone when you need them. But it means that your phone must work. If you have means of solar charging, all the better. And I saw a thing the other day which I thought was incredibly cool. Mickey, you would have loved it. I know you like your tech. It was a backpack that the outer shell literally is a solar panel. So you just plug your phone into your backpack and you charge while you're walking around. Yeah, fantastic idea.
That's ideal.
It makes sense. And of course, nowadays you get rechargeable batteries, you get rechargeable devices, you can get torches that you just plug them straight in and recharge them. So with a pack like that, you can charge all the gear and just keep doing, which is amazing. It makes sense to use. And of course, it means that you can freely play your games and amuse yourself and whatever while out all the time, not having to save your battery for emergencies. So a useful and cunning thing. So smart apps, GPS trackers, and all the multi-functional gadgets. You can even get ultraviolet water purifiers, which again require charge, but they do kill off a huge amount of the cryptosporidium, which even boiling won't get rid of. So if you filter your water out properly, boil it, and then use a ultraviolet filter purifier, you can guarantee safe water. Which in South Africa, let's face it, if you've ever seen our water sources, hell, I'm even
Yeah.
suspicious of the rain. So yeah, and of course, wearable technology. I saw a thing which I very much want to get. It's a smartwatch which monitors your heart rate and everything, but even your blood sugar. How
Yeah,
cool
my
is
sister
that?
has.
Oh,
And she checks her messages on her phone on her smartwatch, and it's quite crazy. You
now
can even answer calls.
yes. Now those I've seen, but one that actually has a blood sugar tester, I'm
Yeah,
very, very interested in. Obviously, it's specific to me being diabetic for all the reasons. But
yeah,
yeah, that's survival for you.
for sure.
So, absolutely, fully important. Along with that, modern things are very compact, which beats the old ways. So, like that water purifier that I have, I could shove it in a pocket. It weighs virtually nothing. And 20,000 litres, that's good enough.
That's really good.
I mean, for the time you would require, mostly that will do it. Your survival blankets that you get, for our country, you don't need much more than that. They're very effective. They weigh virtually nothing, again, pocket sized. Your multi-tools, pocket sized, and have 8 or 10 important tools on them, depending on what you choose. So very, very useful in a tiny, so you're able to carry. So what would you need on a multi? Let's talk a multi-tool, because you can get some brilliant ones. You want to have a decent knife on it for all kinds of reasons. I don't know if you noticed, Bookie, Mickey, you missed it, but I keep a secondary knife in my sustainment kit because I prefer to never use my general knife for food. So I've got a really cheap one of those, they're Chinese rubbishy knives with a knife, fork and spoon combination on it. It's small, it's lightweight. The knife is not terribly good, but it will cut food. And I
Yeah,
keep that purely for eating with.
yeah, it's clever to do. Yeah, it's better to do that that way.
Yes. And on it is a can opener and a bottle opener should I need it for whatever reason. So
Yeah,
absolutely, I've covered my, and it sits not in my toolkit or my pocket, but in my sustainment kit.
yeah. My mom still has my dad's Swiss Army knife in the drawer there, kitchen drawer. She used
This
to open cans with and everything.
The Swiss Army knives, I know it sounds like it's a terrible hype, but they really are the best general EDC folding knives in the world. They are that good.
And that's the thing. Since kids, we used it to open our cans at
There you
home.
go.
Just
It's
we
lasted.
always.
They are that good.
Yeah,
And to date, I think no other company has managed to make a saw on a folding knife like that as good as on the Swiss Army knife. They're still the best in the world.
yeah,
So it just goes to show quality does count. Yeah. So absolutely, that's of major importance. People like to add things like different screwdriver heads and all. My answer to that is only if you're actually a handy type person who can fix things. There's no point in your having tools you can't use. And every bit of weight matters. Cannon bottle openers on a folding knife, absolutely. Because, access
yeah.
to
You need
food.
that.
Pliers Yes, pliers are very useful for a lot of things, not just for normal plier tasks, but think about it. If I've got to boil something in a metal pot or pan on a fire, the ability to lift it off the fire without touching it, your pliers work as a handle so you don't burn yourself.
Yeah.
So they're versatile in a lot of different ways. So yeah, absolutely a decent multi-tool. Now, I've found a lot of the kits people put out, you will pay so much for gear that really a cheap version will work just as well. But there are certain items that getting quality is worthwhile. A multi-tool is one of them, a knife is one of them. You get the decent quality because it is way, way better. So, which things can you get away with? Well, for example, in your medical kit, you're going to need a certain amount of cotton wool and bandages and things. There is no such thing as a high quality cotton bud or cotton wool.
Yeah, no, they're all the same. Pretty much.
Exactly. So spending money on the best brand is dumb. On the other hand, spending money on a decent quality knife that you can rely on, that makes sense. So think in terms of that as well. Now, bear in mind that as a civilian, your interest in your kit is also on other things. Now, we in South Africa don't need to care about earthquakes, so not as important for us. Hurricanes, if you live at the coast, absolutely. Flooding, sometimes, yes, absolutely. Depends where you are. So, in other words, choose where you are and tailor your kit accordingly. I mean, if you lived in Japan, earthquakes, big deal. You absolutely
That's
have
scary.
to, yes. And they have specialized earthquake kits, which are very, very good. Whereas, sorry?
Do you watch anime at all?
Sometimes, yes.
There's a good series called Japan Sinks. It was
Oh, yeah.
excellent. Yeah,
I
about
haven't
Earth.
heard of that one. I'm going to add it to my list of.
Yeah. The story is quite intense.
Uh,
It's on Netflix.
that's cool. We do have Netflix, so I will be able to check it out. I remember a lot of the older animes, like Ghost in the Machine and all of that, which were always my favorite. But the modern ones have moved ahead. The one which I like the most at the moment is, what's the one with the pirates? One Piece.
One Piece.
Yeah, I do
Okay.
like One Piece.
I've never watched it, but it seems pretty cool.
It's hilarious. I enjoy it greatly. So absolutely.
I'm an Attack on Titan fan.
I haven't tried that one. I shall give it a bash.
Oh,
So interesting gear that will matter for any natural disaster. A whistle, a good whistle, not just a standard whistle, but one of the emergency style whistles, because your voice does not carry. Know this. And screaming loud enough is really tiring, but blowing a whistle is easy and it's penetrating. And for example, if you're trapped in a building due to an earthquake or something like that, you can signal to get taken out, or if the building comes down, absolutely. Reaching emergency personnel is far easier with a whistle, and the only Morse code you will ever need is SOS. And everybody knows that.
my mom actually still has my dad's copper whistle from when he was in the police back in the day.
Those are good because they are made to be penetrating. And of course, nowadays with 3D printers, Spooky, there's one for you, you can print a jet stream, which is horribly loud. Mine came with a warning that you should not blow it indoors because of damage to ears. And believe me, I took it outside and gave it a go. It's true. If you blew that indoors, block your ears because, man, it's loud. But in an emergency, right there. And you can print them on a 3D printer. So a whistle would be the first and most important tool to add to your survival kit. And literally it weighs nothing. It can sit on your keychain. Remember that, as I said in the last episode, food and water will take at least 70 to 80% of your kit. And they weigh, which means everything else must be as light as possible and as multifunctional as possible. Don't carry rubbish. So one of the favorite rules of survival is the saying, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And it does sound so good. And while it might be true for 1 or 2 items of gear, it is a lie for everything else.
I'll be right back, okay?
We shall await you. So yeah, take the hype as it comes. Now, essential gear components. So here's a list for you, Spooky. First aid supplies, absolutely. Now, the current trend is you absolutely have to have a cat tourniquet. Hey, Luna. No. Bullshit. Especially not in our country where you will not get emergency response. Tourniquets you've got to know how to use, when to release them and retighten them, how long to use them, and all the rest of it. You use them wrong, a minor injury will become a lost limb. So it's absolute rubbish. It's different in America where they've got almost instantaneous medical response, etc., etc. It's not the same in our country. And you have to know how to use them. Yes, they are amazing pieces of gear, but you can get pretty much the same effect from a good quality pressure bandage. And if you get one of those Israeli bandages that's got the Celox infusion that is clotting, even better. I would spend money on that 100 times over before getting any kind of tourniquet. Just so you know. Because unless you've had training and are a medic, you should not own one. So think in terms of that with all. It's like they give you these field surgical kits. Are you mad? You're going to sew yourself up in the field? No, you're not. You use butterfly sutures, which are tape-on sutures, to keep yourself okay till you get to a real doctor in a sterile environment who knows what he's doing and has been taught over 9 or 10 years how to do it. You know, if you think you're going to sew yourself up like Rambo, you're insane. There's just no way. So tailor your first aid and medical to you, and don't carry wannabe items. It's too important to carry stupid things. So first aid, very important. Tailor it correctly. Water filtration, absolutely, especially for our country. A fire starting kit. Now, as I've said, my system goes on 3 layers. What's in your pocket 24/7, your toolkit the moment you leave your base, you take with you, and your sustainment kit. I would have a fire kit in every level. Now, this is the one area where redundancy does matter. But understand, on me, I have the lighter in my pocket and a backup ferro rod. In my toolkit, I'll have a spare lighter and some matches. In my sustainment kit, I'd have a full tinder box with tinder, ferro rod, matches, lighter, extra tinder of varying varieties, etc., etc., etc. But I don't carry that all the time. So size changes. So think of it in terms of that. And then they say a multi-tool. I prefer a straight knife on me. I keep a multi-tool in my toolkit. I've got a Swiss gear that I've carried for around 25 years. It's old, it's boring, but it's always worked for me. So, ta-da! Urban adaptations, however, mean that you do need to consider the possibility of released gas, which means you might not want to light any kind of flame or strike any spark. So things like chem lights are far more important in an urban environment, so you can have non-ignition lighting, a N95 mask for dust protection and all the rest of it, far more important in an urban environment than a rural environment. What they call covert entry tools, which are illegal, you shouldn't have, I'm not telling you to have, don't carry these ever. However, the ability to pick locks and open doorways and so on and so forth is useful in an urban setting when it's after the emergency and now you're trying to deal with survival, not under normal circumstances. Throwing it all out there for TikTok. So yeah, the ability to bypass a door. But at the same time, don't get clever, simply because, as a thief once told me, remember I was a crime reporter for years, a thief once told me that they never bothered to go through a door. And I said, why not? And he says, because you've got a big plate window and a brick works better and quicker. They had a point, you know. That's often, look for the simplest solution before you get technical. 3 hours picking a lock as opposed to half brick through window, you know, throwing it out there. But yes.
Today, I was trying to rob a place. I threw a brick here with his two friends. He turned away, he came back again the next day. The guy throws the brick against the window, and it comes back, it gets thrown again. And they leave again. The next day they came back again, and then, yeah, every time the window didn't break, it just sort of covered with a brick.
Okay, I heard virtually none of that, and I'm checking my audio. I don't know why I can barely hear you, Spooky.
I didn't hear anything either.
But it sounded very interesting. So can I ask you to repeat that a little louder? Yeah?
Can you hear me?
Almost, yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
No. You can hear it. It's fine.
There we go. That's now you're clear. I can hear you now, Spooky. Say all of that again.
No, it's fine. You don't need to, the ridiculous video that I thought. Just a bunch of guys trying to rob a place, trying to throw bricks through a window, but they kept on throwing it against each other, and the brick kept on bouncing back from the window onto them, knocking them out, and then
that's hilarious.
It just gave up.
Well, maybe they needed. Well, to be fair, okay, you do get impact-resistant glass, and I have seen it, and it does work pretty cool. But most people's houses don't have it. So I suppose again it depends where you are and what you're trying to get into. Another thing that somebody pointed out to me is that roof tiles are very easy to remove. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm not trying to teach people how to break into houses.
No, but that too.
But yeah, think laterally if it was really a life or death situation. Now, how good are digital tools? Yeah, as long as you've got power, and like I said, the idea of a solar powered backpack is absolutely brilliant. And if you put a couple of power banks in your backpack that were constantly charging even when you weren't charging your devices, I mean, you've got multiple redundancies that work really well. So absolutely. Bear in mind as well, dependent on where you are. For example, if you're in the middle of Joburg, you are not going to be making a shelter from branches. There's no bloody trees. So what you carry must allow you to achieve your aims in the environment you're going to be in. So a shelter in an urban setting is almost certainly either going to be something you carried or made from junk like cardboard boxes and stuff. Whereas in a rural setting, of course, I can use branches and what have you to make a shelter. It's a totally different situation. Bear in mind as well the threat levels and things in an urban setting is totally different to that in a rural setting. Your ability to move is also restricted and limited in an urban setting because of roads and buildings and you need to keep that in mind as well. Know therefore not only your own area but the areas around you, so you don't run out of your area to get out of trouble into a worse area. Keep in mind your skill set, but also where to go and how to go. These are all thinkings, okay? So smart technology has improved. Wearable devices that monitor your health and environment, absolutely. I'm all for it. They give you temperature. You can get watches with compasses on, the whole bang shoot. The ability to use GPS, the whole works. They're there. Yeah, they can be expensive, but you can do it. Sustainable supplies is a big thing in the modern age. In a severe emergency, how important is that? I suppose it depends on your opinions. You know, save the whales when the nuke's going off. Do you know in Fallout, the guy with the thumb isn't saying good luck? If you hold your hand out with your thumb up, if your thumb covers the blast, you're far enough away not to be affected by the initial explosion. If it doesn't, you're going to be affected by the initial explosion. So he's not saying good luck. He's checking if he's far enough away. A weird bit of gaming lore.
Interesting.
So yeah, you can learn from computer games, actually. There's a lot of quite accurate stuff in many games, and a lot of rubbish as well. Yeah.
My favorite games that I play are survival city builder games,
Yes.
where you have to, like, you start with a small village and then you just carry on throughout the ages. You first, then you have to
Absolutely.
rock and wood and yeah, all sorts of things.
Well, what's
And I
nice
was,
about those, not useful for the initial survival, but once you've gotten over that and you're now needing to rebuild, they actually do cover a lot of the things that would be important. So, yeah,
yeah,
useful. Now, obviously, a kit has to be made for you. If it doesn't suit you, and no matter how good the gear is, it's a waste of time. So, for example, I was talking about wearing a watch that can register blood sugar. Might be utterly useless for you, but to me,
Yeah.
it matters a lot. Maybe you need to have your blood pressure monitored. Maybe you just want one with a good GPS, you know, whatever. You pick what works for you. Now, people talk about community resources. I'm very dubious about community. Maybe it's just my mindset, but I'm very slow to trust most people. And I find lots of people can become very different in an emergency. So I tend to avoid that. I'm a loner. Pick what works best for you.
Yeah, me too. I don't
Now,
have a lot. Just
another thing to think about is where you are. Now, people say carry a good roll of rope. Depends where you are. You can get away with decent cordage, like paracord, and not bother with the weight of rope in a lot of environments. But in certain environments, rope is really, really, really useful. If you're in a mountainous area, if you're in an urban environment and may need to get out of buildings, these things can become very useful. But it depends on the geography, where you are. If you don't anticipate needing to tie up a boat, climb a mountain, whatever, don't carry it. Paracord works just as well, and it takes 550 pounds of pressure, which is about 5 times what Mickey weighs. So if she needed to trust her weight to paracord, she could do it in an emergency. Just so you know. It's called 550 cord because it can resist 550 pounds of pressure before snapping per square inch.
impressive.
Yes. So yeah, it would take my weight easily. Don't know. Spooky, are you fat? I'm just teasing. So yes, kits matter for where you are. Certain tools do change, like the most carried knife in Canada is the ulu. Very, very, very specific knife. But it's really good for hunting and for campcraft, which makes it ideal for their environment, where getting leather and furs and things will make a very big difference to whether or not you live or die out there, because it gets freaking cold. Is it the best blade for the environment here? Arguable. I personally would carry such a thing in my sustainment level kit, but not on me. Whereas if I was in Canada, it would be on me. As those of you who don't know what an ulu is, it's a blade that literally looks like a half moon shaped blade with a handle behind it instead of at the back of it. It's an Eskimo knife, and it really does a lot of good for preparation of things, for skinning, for scraping, all of that kind of stuff. So it's designed for its environment, which is great. So environment does change what gear you will carry. Now, this basically means you must choose your gear by terrain and by climate. But before we talk about that, I want to drop in the idea of time. Now, everybody goes, yeah, If I have to survive, I'll hunt because I'm an excellent shot, and I will fish because there's... No, you won't. I'm telling you right now, no, you won't.
Easy.
Yeah. Bonk. Yes, it says we're alive. Yay! The initial 72 hours, you will not hunt, you will not fish, you will not forage for food, you will not build anything outside the most basic shelter, because that's a period in which you are getting out of the danger zone, which means for 72 hours you must carry all your food. You might have to stop and grab extra water, but it'll be a quick grab and go. There will be no sustainment done in the first 72 hours because you will not have the time. You will be getting out of ground zero to a place where you can stop, breathe, and start thinking about sustainment. So all of these people that say, well, I don't carry anything food-wise because I have the ability... No, you won't. It's been proved. No, you won't. You look at every emergency, the first 72 hours are the critical ones where generally people have said, yeah, I had no food and I suffered through it. No, you will not. You won't have the time. Time is critical in the first 72 hours. So any food and water, you're carrying it or you don't have it. Bottom line fact, proved time and again throughout history. Which means that we go back to my initial point that 75 to 80% of your gear weight for the first 72 hours is food and water. I further point out that, like any baby, cannot go without food for 72 hours. Small children will struggle greatly. Old people will struggle greatly. People with specific health issues will struggle greatly. Me, for one, I struggle if I don't eat something every day. So it immediately means that for the average person, yes, it's technically possible to go without food and still survive for even up to a week. But A, you really won't enjoy it, and B, you will suffer for it. Your cognitive abilities, your energy levels, you will suffer for it. So to try and Rambo through such a thing is dumb. You want food. High calorie, lightweight, easily carried, lasts a long time. For that first 72 hours, until you can then stop, set up some kind of a proper safe shelter, and start looking around for what food is there. Can I fish? Can I gather plants? Whatever. But initially, you will do none of that. So plan on not doing any of it, because it matters. Now, one of the things that they always say in your survival kits, you've got to have a decent radio. Yeah, in America, they've got things like NOAA. NOAA is their weather and disaster broadcast that lets you know what's going on, where it's happening, and all the rest of it. We don't have it in this country. Useless. The ability to contact somebody else via radio is probably more dangerous than useful unless you know who you're contacting. So again, a waste of time. So carrying a radio in your kit, don't bother. It's a dumb idea. The dangers are all over. Now, people will tell you, oh, don't carry these Altoid kits, they're too small. Well, they fit in your pocket. And the point is, if you're really in trouble and you've lost everything else, it's in your pocket. It is your primary. They are brilliant. Would it be better to have proper tools? Yeah, if you can carry them. Of course it is. we're not discounting that reality, but we're saying if you can carry nothing else, something you could chuck in a pocket and run with is massively valuable if you're carrying your absolute basics. And yes, a lot of gear out there is cheap Chinese rubbish, we won't lie. But decent stuff is out there as well. So think in terms of that. There are a lot of different versions that range from things you can literally hang on a keychain, which work, right up to full-on kits that, quite frankly, I think are rubbish because there's no ways you're going to carry them. Maybe you could throw them in the back of a car, different story, if your car is functional, and so on and so on. So what were the key things from ancient times? Well, a blade, a flame, and a cord, same as today. Different methods of, but you need the same things. Something you can hunt with, something you can do work around camp and defend with, so a blade of some variety, possibly a spear. Spears are really, really useful. And you can make one very easily if you've got a basic knife. You sharpen a pointy stick and you're already halfway there. Cordage is virtually, I know people say, but you can weave it from this and that. I've seen people weaving. It takes all day, gives you cramp in your fingers, and if you don't know what you're doing, you will wreck it. Carry your own along with you. It will be better. Cordage, okay? It's so easy to carry a Bic in your pocket. Just do it. Rubbing two sticks together, if you're good with them, will take you around 2 hours to get a fire going. If you're good with it and practiced. If you're not, all you're going to discover is third-degree blisters. I know, I've tried. It ain't as like in the movies.
Ouch, that's a bad.
Yes. So it's not like in the movies, know that. In America, they're really big on axes, but then they have the forests to suit it. In this country, if I had to carry a bigger knife, I'd pick a machete. Much more versatile for our landscape, to me. Spear, machete, pocket knife, eating knife, and I'm away. Those are the blades I would carry. And I've done so before and it works. So it's the same 5,000 years ago as today. A good quality compass, yeah, I don't use it very much. I have a button compass as backup. I know it's reliable and I have it, but it's tiny and it fits in the bottom of my pack and I don't use it. A decent copper kettle, yes. One that you can boil water in, that you can cook in, that you can do all of those things. Absolutely, it's been a staple since 5,000 years ago till today, yes. There's no question that that right there is really important. A fold of heavy-duty tinfoil, absolutely. The best candles for the modern day, tea light candles. They're smaller than normal ones, and because of the little metal cup under them, they burn for hours. And you can get them in all kinds of different sizes. I would get something like that without a doubt. They're lightweight, they're easy to carry, and they're cheap, and they work. Don't spend lots of money on it. That said, fishing gear, I carry a hand line and no more, because I'm nowhere near the beach. If I was at the beach, I would think about carrying more. In terms of food, dried meat, cheese, dried fruit and nuts. Those are your staples, and then some kind of a hardtack. That's your staples. It works. It worked 5,000 years ago. It worked for the Vikings. It will work today. What I would add that modern technology gives us is I would add in multivitamins just to give you that boost, and electrolyte
Yeah.
powders. We live in a very, very hot country. Electrolyte powders
you
go a long way.
for sure.
So absolutely, and they're cheap. They're easy to get. You whack them down and it'll sort you out, chop chop. So yeah, add electrolyte powders into your base kit. Rope I do not carry, except in my sustainment level kit in the major pack. But I will carry strong cordage in my pocket and more in my toolkit. So I get the thread that you used, that's like a waxed cordage they use for sewing leather on shoes and things, because it's really strong, very thin, and I can carry 50 feet in a tiny little roll in my pocket. I will carry paracord and sisal string in my toolkit, and then a whole ton more of that and rope in my sustainment pack. And that gives me everything I will need. Okay, so the basics are down there. A pressure bandage on me and a reasonable med kit in my sustainment kit, not in my toolkit, because if I'm going to do medical, it's when it's safe to do so. I want a pressure bandage to stop any dangerous bleed on me. So nothing in my toolkit. Everything is either on me or in my sustainment kit, because once I'm at camp safe, that's when I will sit and poke around and sort out and put an antibiotic and. Not when I'm running away from danger. That's the basics to that. A good map is way better than a compass. I can promise you now that as a civilian, you will never be trying to get a declination. You need to get a base direction. And it's far easier to do with a map than it is with one of these fancy military compasses where you can figure out where you are down to the last meter. You don't need to know that. You need to know where the next safe place is, or big town, and either go there or avoid it. And as long as you're within line of sight of whatever it is, you're good. If you're out by half a kilometer, so what? Towns are big. You can see them. You're not trying to get artillery to hit a target and not you, which is different. Now, I was a gunner in the military. I know the difference. Yes, I've used the big military compasses. I know how to. I can decline down to give you to the meter where it goes, which, if you're directing artillery, is a very, very important skill. If you're a civilian, I just need to find where I'm going. I do not ever use any of that, and you don't need to either. Basic fact. Now, is it useful to learn? Is it fun to learn? Well, if you like that, do it. But you don't need to. A good pair of pliers? Absolutely. Needle and thread. Carrying a needle and thread has been part of survival kits for at least 3,000 years. When they found Otzi, that prehistoric man, he had a needle and thread on him.
Wow.
Which goes to show that, yeah, it probably should be part of your kit. Even he had one. So, yeah, absolutely. Decent bandage, absolutely. A bandana. You can use a bandana for a million things, including signaling. So carry one. Make sure it's 100% cotton. It works. I wouldn't carry an axe because of the weight, and they're not that important in our geography. Everyone says you have to have a ferrocerium rod. Well, they are a great backup, but you have to know how to use them. Skill set, spooky, learn to use a ferro rod, but it's so much easier to flick a bick or strike a match. That would be the first choice because it's easy. Know how to build a fire. It's not as simple as you think. And to do it well in adverse conditions is hard. Learn how to do it. Learn the different types of fires, which ones smoke the most, which ones light easiest, which ones give the most heat. How long do you need the fire to go? Are you just quickly cooking food and moving on? Certain fires are better for that. Are you trying to light one that nobody else can see? Certain fires are better for that. Do you want... Say again? Spooky keeps starting to say something and then stops. Yeah. Oh no, it's me in the background. Oh Lord. I'm hearing me. I thought it was you, Spooky. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's about fires, maybe a fire with him. You want everybody to see.
Fair point. But yeah, you need to know how to build a pyramid fire. You probably should know how to make a Swedish log fire. And you probably should know, I forget the name of it now. It's the one that you dig a hole and make the fire in the hole with a tunnel coming away from it up and out further off, because it minimizes smoke and makes a concealed fire. So 3 kinds of fire at least. Now, we live in a country where braaivleis is like breathing, so most of us know how to make a decent fire. So we're probably good. Know how to make a water filter. Coke bottle, cotton wool, charcoal, sand. Pour the water in the top and let it come out the bottom. It's now filtered. It is not purified, but it's filtered. Now that it's filtered, boil it. Now you can drink it. It will taste awful. Know that it will taste awful. Accept it will taste awful, but you can drink it. Making things like a solar still and all the rest of that are useful only in sustainment times or really bad emergencies, because they take so long to produce much of anything. The amount of effort to do it generally outweighs the result. Better to get foul water and be able to purify it than to have to make a solar still. However, if there is no water, know how to make a solar still. Fair point? Fair point. Make sure that you can walk 10 Ks carrying 20 kilograms. If you can't do that, you're in trouble. In other words, be fit enough to get out. This matters. Practice with your gear. Don't wait until the last minute. Now, something which is very, very useful is something like a small monocular or pair of binoculars. The ability to see things at a distance before rushing head on into them. It will make a large difference to your survivability. Know where you're going and what might be there. Keep in mind that you can carry in your pocket a packet of cuppa soup, which, because it's dry, weighs virtually nothing. In order to prepare, you need to pour in boiling water and you're done. And you can carry 10 of them without much effort in a very small space. In other words, the kind of choices of food matters. Chris, thank you so much for the likes and for the follow. Welcome, welcome. So when you start picking what food you are carrying, think about that. On the converse, you have to have water to make that cup of soup. which in our country might be a problem.
Yeah.
Do I believe in telekinesis? I'd like to. What about you guys? What do you think?
Well,
I don't know. A lot of people. I don't know where that question came from, but there we go. Telekinesis, yeah. I would tell you, by the way, that if you're going to carry anything now, to maintain it. So people who say, I'm going to take this rifle and that rifle and my handgun and yeah, those things weigh a lot, and so does ammunition. I know, I was in the military. I know how much it weighs. And for all the weight that you put into that means weight you're not carrying for something else, because you have a limit to what you can carry. Finish. So, balance. A really good choice, funnily enough, would be Mickey's 22LR. Very light. Say again?
Well, why don't you just repair the vehicle?
Well, if
Or a
you
wheel?
can, but bear in mind you might not be able to. So your baseline is always what you can carry as you walk. That's your baseline. If you can upgrade and get it out in a vehicle, 100% do it, and put in full-size tools, which will be absolutely better.
Well, making a wheel is probably challenging.
Yes.
You can make a sledge, but I think pulling a sledge for kilometers would be tiring.
It would be doable. The American Indian travois would also work to a certain degree, but it's hard. I do know people have done setups that work on bicycles very effectively, which absolutely you can use that to transport more weight and better stuff and move a lot faster when you need to with less energy. So look, the ideal is I can take a good 4x4 vehicle and outfit it with, 200 liters of water and extra petrol and. Of course. But don't count on it. If the roads are blocked, if things have gone that bad, you might not be able to do that. So it does depend. Bearing in mind as well the amount of available water means that it's probably a good idea to have food that doesn't require water to eat. Tins work well. Tea is very good. And coffee, because bear in mind they might say it's not the best for survival, but if you're used to drinking it every day, suddenly taking it away from you will make your life miserable. It won't work well. So think in terms of that as well. Packets of sugar, salt and pepper and stuff, you can get them at restaurants for free. Absolutely. It would help a lot. You see a lot of these survival kits on TV, like Bear Grylls and all the rest. Are they any good? They're okay. They're not great. They're not bad. Some of them are a bit hyped. I absolutely have changed what's gone into mine. People say, oh, put in snare wire. If you're in an area that has things you can snare, but bear in mind snares take time. Good for sustainment after the initial 72 hours, useless in the first 72 hours. For all of the reasons you might imagine. Axes I don't carry because they don't give enough facility in our geography compared with their weight. There are better options. But in terms of a firearm, I would go with a .22. You use it right, it will do just as much as any larger caliber, and they're lighter, and you can carry 200 rounds on you a lot easier than 200 rounds of a full-sized rifle, etc. Just saying, weight-wise. So unless you're professionally trained and can hunt and all the rest of it, leave the big rubbish at home. They're not worthwhile. So
Very heavy.
yes. So what you've got is probably the best choice. It just makes sense. A good multi-tool, sure, pick the brand that suits you, but make it a decent one, because that's one of your basic type things. What about things like these fancy titanium cook pots and all? Okay, if you want. They cost a frickin' fortune. If you've got the money to waste, sure, it will save you a little bit of weight, but you can get by with an aluminium pot over the short term. Just saying. Granola bars, energy bars, all of that, absolutely. You can eat it while walking, brilliant. Food that you can consume while going, and in packet sizes that are, you can eat it all at once and you're done, but you're not eating your entire stash, matters. So sectioning up your food makes a big difference. That's very important. One of the big things that I learned from MREs is work out your day's food and never go beyond it.
Yeah.
Simply because we have a tendency, oh, if I just eat that, it's fine. No, work your correct nutritional needs for the day, and that's your lot. If you eat everything in the morning, you get nothing till tomorrow. Train yourself to think. So yes, recovery drinks with electrolytes, tea, if you don't have those, works very well. But also you can get protein drinks, which work very well and make it easier. You get energy gels, energy powders, absolutely. Works like a bomb. You want them. Waterproof and stormproof matches, I think you would be silly not to carry it, simply because they work and they're easy. Most of us do not want to spend 2 hours trying to get a fire started. We want it done now. And it's possible. So in an emergency, why make your life difficult? Don't. Flashlights, you know what? You can get such fancy shit now with like 10,000 lumen lights. No. A light that's enough is enough. You're not doing search and rescue. You're not military trying to see that sniper 10 k's away on the hill. You're trying to see your way in the dark to go to the bathroom. 100 to 200 lumens is more than enough. Believe me. So you can carry that small and light and not have a problem. I would rather have a small light with plenty of extra batteries than a big light. Everyone says you have to have headlights for hands-free. I hate headlights, so I don't carry them. I suppose it depends on your preference. It's the flavour of the moment at the moment in the survival world. Not worth it. Radios, not worth it. A basic compass is more than enough. Get a decent quality one. They're not that expensive for a decent Sunto. And you can get a small light one. It points to north. It's good enough. All of this other things, with your Baofeng radios and blah, that's a load of crap. Don't bother. It's not worth it. It just isn't. Pre-preparing, however, is important. So, number one, be fit. Number two, Know how to light a fire even if it's raining, okay, and have backup for it. Their backup matters. Know how to use the blades and things you carry, because if you don't, you will cut yourself and have a problem. Know basic first aid and make sure that the kit you carry suits your skill level. Don't carry medical items that you don't know how to use, because you will do far more harm than good carrying it. It's not worth carrying what you don't know how to use. Hence my argument against a tourniquet. It's rubbish. Carry a pressure bandage with Celox infused in it. You'll live longer, which is the point. You won't be happy, but you'll live longer. So there's that. In our country, water, 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 which means, yes, I will carry my normal water bottle, which, yes, is a proper one, but I will carry 4 or 5 collapsible plastic water bottles stuffed in the bottom of my bag, which I don't use, but they're there. Each one is a litre. If I find myself in an emergency, I will fill all of them, because I know I will need them. They're there waiting, and they weigh nothing. And if they get damaged or something, it's fine. They cost like $6 at Westpac. So, you know, why would I worry? It makes sense for backup in the right areas. All the old myths and stories about the wool blanket being the best thing ever are actually true. Have a wool blanket. It works. The old army style blanket, it works. Have one. Have a mat to lie on. One my favorite mat is, you know those thin grass mats that you can buy by the side of the road?
Oh, yeah.
They work. They're good enough. Always have something to sleep on to avoid rising damp and rising cold. In our country, something to go over yourself, basic plastic bags work. Bin bags, plastic rain poncho is fine. We don't get cold enough to warrant much more. But we do need something to be on. Absolutely. You know, in those things you put inside your car windscreen, those Mylar reflective things to keep the sun out?
Oh, yeah.
They work really, really good as a pad to sleep on, because they weigh nothing and they reflect your body heat back to you. It works. So yeah, right there, you've got that as well. So think laterally. Your military gear, they got a job to do. That's why it works the way it works. You don't have that job. You don't need half of what they do. And remember that in general, mostly soldiers don't carry their gear. They carry their ammo. They don't carry their gear.
Oh.
No, it's kept back at camp. What you have on you is your gear for fighting, because your job is what you are doing.
Yeah, I'm not really carrying stuff.
Right, so it is a different view. Your rations are critical. And your water in this country is critical. Your tools are useful, but beyond the primary ones are useful, not critical. There's a difference. You can get away with a lot less than you think. So know which gear matters and know which gear doesn't. Make sure you're fit enough, you've practiced with your gear, you can light a fire, you know the basics of food that might be found wild around you, or that you can scavenge if you're in an urban environment. Know what you can and can't eat and what to avoid. if there are specific poison items around, know which ones they are. So like many of the kits in America talk about poison oak. We don't have it. I can't identify it because I've never seen it, and I don't need to.
Oh, yeah. Poison oak, yeah.
Yeah, but there are other threats that are suitably problematic that we do need to know about in our country, so know them. So know what is relevant for where you are. Know a bit like, what were you talking about the other? Oh, the susu and the amatungulu and things like that grow wild. Know them. They're edible and it's safe to eat them. So it's more important than stuff from other countries. Know things like your base test for food. If you found something you think is edible, you rub it on the inside of the crook of your arm and wait for an hour. If it causes any irritation at all, don't eat it. Okay? Then you take it, you rub a bit on your lips. If it causes any kind of irritation, don't eat it. Hold a little in your mouth for 10 minutes and then spit it out. Any kind of irritation or weird taste or something like that, don't eat it. Then you eat a very small amount and leave it for a day. If you get very sick or anything like that, it's poisonous, don't eat it. If it passes all of those, you can probably get away with eating it. These are things to learn. And they're easy to get off a good survival book. They should tell you all of them as well. So military kits are great to a point. But remember, you're not a soldier. Bear in mind as well, a decent system of containment and a decent system for gathered stuff containment. Now that's why I go back onto my level of 3 kits. Stuff in my pockets, stuff in my tool bag, stuff in my sustainment bag. One of the things in my tool bag is, you know those, they give them away free. It's like a cloth drawspring backpack. You see them all the time. One of those is fantastic because when it's empty, it fits in my back pocket and weighs nothing. But if I'm out and I'm gathering food or whatever as I go, that works. I can shove stuff in, and when I get home, if it's dirty, I throw it in the washing machine. It works. And it's so cheap, so what? So that kind of thing. Now, we got that from the Vikings. We know that the Vikings base kit included on body, you would carry a knife of some kind, a pouch or purse for carrying small things. Interestingly enough, your grooming tools. You have to comb your hair to keep the lice and yuck out, and you have to brush your teeth. We know this. It's good health. Okay, so have the means. You need a fire-making kit, obviously, a whetstone to maintain your blades, because a dull blade is useless and in fact dangerous, and possibly small items that you'll use on the general, including money. If you get to a place where you can purchase something, having it is good. Number 2, always layer your clothing. You see, nature changes all the time. Today it's cold, tomorrow it's hot. Layered clothing means that you can put on and off clothing and manage your temperature so that you are warm enough at any given time, but not too warm, and waterproof enough at any given time if you need it. So it's better to be wearing 5 layers of thin stuff than it is to have one heavy duty jacket, because you can then modify your temperature up and down. So learn layers and learn the materials for the layers. Wool for the inside, because it's warm even when wet. Cotton against the skin, because it's easiest to clean and hygienic. Wool actually very good for underwear and socks as well. Then as you get out, you want shell layers that are waterproof, windproof, waterproof, and so on. So yeah, work layers. You can use all kinds of different things, but do look after it. Decent leather boots are still the best, but look after them, oil them, polish them. You don't polish shoes to make them look pretty, you polish them to keep the leather alive. So throughout history, the bottom line is look after your feet. If you don't, you're screwed. If you can't move, you're screwed. So good boots, more than anything. Decent bedding is including your pad to lie on, your blanket to wrap yourself in, and a shelter overhead. My personal preference is I want to actually get my hands on 2 South African military bivvies, because with that I can make the perfect tent and have space for all my gear in it, because it's what I'm used to. I know how to use it. And that will work very, very, very well for me. I can't find them at the moment, but I plan to. But that's my ideal. They don't weigh very much and they don't take up much space. That's what will go in my kit. And a grass mat, because it works. But if you prefer, you can go with one of those yoga mats, because that will work well too. They do weigh a little, funnily enough. Or one of the camp mats, which are the funny compressed foam, very lightweight, works. It is a little bulky, but it works. So go with what works for you. Weapons. Well, the Vikings went with their defense and their offense. So shield, spear, and either an axe or a sword. Those were your main weapons. Nowadays, I think trying to get armor of any variety is silly, but possibly base armor on the forearms, on the shins, and something to protect your head. So, for example, I have a cap that I like to wear that has an insert made of hardened plastic that makes it into a bump cap. Good enough. Excellent in an urban environment where things dropping from overhead may be a serious issue in an emergency.
Yeah.
Basic defense, it matters. More than that, I wouldn't. Problem with spears, while I like them, I carry a hiking staff if I go out. I want to make a blade that will fit on it when I need it, but can be taken off normally. That way I can carry a spear, which normally I wouldn't be allowed to, even when I'm elsewhere. You hide the head in the back of your pack, but if things go to hell, you can set it up. Emperor's Son, hey, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you there. So yeah, there are options, different things you can do. The idea of a catty that's got modifications for arrows and things, brilliant idea for survival in many, many, many ways. Because it's compact, it's small, it's out of the way till you need it, but when you need it, there. Yes,
Yeah.
good evening to the Emperor's Son. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful evening. I don't know if you celebrate New Year at all, but if you do, Happy New Year. If you don't, Happy New Year anyway, because I do. So there you are. And he says, good evening to all of you guys as well. So, yes, yes. A key item of gear that I will agree is very, very important is your cooking pot. You need a small pot. Preferably one with a spout on it so you can pour from it, and a lid and a bail so that you can hang it over a fire. There was a really cool item I did see. Yes, you can make such a thing, but basically it's a thin length of chain with a hook on the end, and you can set a tripod of sticks above your fire high enough that the heat won't burn it, and you hang your pot on this chain right over the fire. You can adjust the height if you need to by means of the other end, and it just works. You know, a simple idea that weighs virtually nothing, that upgrades your ability to boil water, to cook, and all the rest of it. Things like that are well worth thinking about, and I would absolutely do so. But remember, in terms of, as we've seen from way back in the day, layered clothing is your first line of defense. Because, I mean, the other day I wanted to go for a walk, and when I got up, it was like already blazing hot, too hot to go. So I said, oh, I'll go tomorrow. And the next day it was freezing cold and tipping with rain. You never know what the weather's going to do. The ability to adapt your layering to it makes a big difference, because it changes all the time, as well as times of year. So it does matter. Bear in mind as well, the choice of materials of your clothing will increase dramatically in weight if they get wet. So know that and choose accordingly. One thing which I'm very sad about is the fact that we've gone out of the fashion of wearing a cloak, because they are so useful. They are literally your blanket to sleep in, your cover to wear in hot weather. You can make them quite waterproof, which means they're your rain gear as well. There's something to sit on. They've got a million uses, and they look cool. So
They really do.
They do. So we need to get that brought back into general living. A good pack, absolutely. You can turn a blanket into a pack quite easily. What kind of pack? Pick whatever makes you happy. Really, it doesn't matter. I carry two. The main one with my sustainment kit, and a little one which can attach to the big one if I'm carrying the big one, but comes off for walking around with, which is a sling bag, for my tools and stuff if I want to leave my sustainment kit at camp, which makes sense because that's how it works. A decent belt. I actually have one which is a specialist emergency belt, which has a forged steel triangular ring on it, which literally means I can use that belt to be lifted by helicopter out of a place. I can casevac with it. Would it be comfortable? No, but it will work. It's that strong a belt. So as a tool belt, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So multifunctional. And yes, it will take the weight of somebody about 3 times my weight, so I'm good to go. I can rescue me, I could rescue somebody else, I could thread a rope through it and lower people up and down, I can rappel down the side of a building using it, using techniques I've learned. There's a whole ton of possible things that I can do using that belt. And it will also fit my pouches and things to carry my gear. Ta-da! So absolutely, a good belt of good quality is worth having. Your boots are critical. Good grip, comfortable, and when you do that 10k walk carrying 20k's, do it in the boots you will wear, because know that it matters. You do not want to break in new boots or find out these ones give you a blister when it's too late.
Sure.
So absolutely. One of the big things that I really liked about those boots that you were showing me, Spooky, is the fact they're well worn, which shows that you clearly use them enough that they are comfortable. They will work, and they had good grip underneath. So yeah, decent boots. How much can you carry? Find out. Do yourself a favor and find out what you can carry. Then make sure that your kit with food and water fits that. Because if you can't carry your gear, it's no good. Throw it away. It's a waste of time. There's no good in carrying kit that you can't carry. You will throw it away. If you're going in a group, you might find there are additional useful items that you can split between each other so that you're not all carrying it. So I know somebody that always takes a thin stainless steel wok with them. Now, he carries the wok. The wife carries the utensils and things. So they split the weight between, but now they have the means to cook properly. It's useful. It works. Things like that, you know. It's worth having a go. Interestingly enough, when you put up a small tent-like shelter, one of the things we did in the army is we used to use our backpacks to close at the end to keep them warm. The Anglo-Saxons used to use their shields. Shields are useful, just so you know. And of course the spear works great as well, if need be, as a ridgepole. You can do it. Little things worth knowing. People say, I don't carry stakes and things like that because I'll just tie off to a tree. Have you ever hiked through the Highveld? And there's like not a single tree for 300 miles in front of you, and it's flat as a pancake, and you're like, now what? I have. So don't necessarily expect. That's why I like to carry my hiking poles, because amongst other things, I can set up a shelter with it. And it's got other uses. So yes, 100%. Lean-tos work, but only when they do work. When they don't work, they're useless. It's like, that's why I never carry a hammock. A hammock is wonderful. Keeps you off the ground. You can have a built-in mosquito net. Millions of good reasons to carry a hammock until you've got no trees to hang it on. Now it's useless. So, yeah. Somebody pointed out, and they were from Florida, which, as you probably do know, is very swampy. A decent bug spray will change your world. Well, yeah, I know places I've camped in where that would have been the truth. Absolutely. So, a decent bug spray. And of course, we have malaria and all sorts to contend with, so absolutely. Fresh food is always healthier than dried food or preserved food, but fresh food has a very short use because of its shelf life, and you keep fresh food too long, it becomes dangerous. In other words, I would be very careful what fresh food I carried, even if I was able to take, say, a vehicle and could have an ice box packed with ice to make it last. I would limit what fresh food I carried, for all of those reasons.
Yeah.
Basic rule, your primary kit must fit your pockets. Your toolkit must fit the kind of sling bag that you can wear all the time without worrying. So no bigger than a handbag. Your sustainment kit must be of a weight level that you can walk all day if need be carrying it and be okay with that, even if it's a bit weighty. If you can't manage that, you've got a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Bear in mind that as a civilian, you need to carry things else. Your IDs, your passports, your all of that, because it matters. Assumedly, once you've gotten out of whatever has caused you to have to run away, you'll want to rejoin normal society again. Now, the best way of doing it is you photograph every important document, every legal document, and you store it on an SD card. Because an SD card is so small, you can literally hide it in your underpants if need be. And all your important documents are on there. You can password protect them. And then when you finally get out on the other side, you can reprint everything and prove you're you, so that you can then replace everything in due course. Think about that. Driver's license, passport, ID,
Yeah,
medical history, all of that you can keep on something the size of a 10-cent coin. Worth doing.
that's a big problem if you use that.
Yes. So it's worth photographing everything and then just sticking it in your kit because it works. Why not?
Yeah.
Certain things have proved better than others. So, for example, in terms of nourishment, oatmeal is probably one of the top flours that will work very, very well. Though putu goes down very well as well, and it's very, very filling. There's a huge advantage to being filled. The amount of food that you need to survive is quite small. If you could make a small saucy type thing to go on top of a lot of pup, you can last a very long time and be okay with it. There's a reason it's a staple food. Know that one of the top staple foods for survival is cabbage. The second one is pumpkin. Getting these two foods will provide a great many of the vitamins and things you need to keep going. So they are very easy to grow. So when you get to your sustainment level, growing them yourself is a good idea. And they are very good for you. They are boring as hell, I will grant you, but it works. And you can get away with it. I can tell you from personal experience, I've seen so many people saying that trying to carry a survival spice kit is so stupid. You don't need it. Okay, when I was in the army and we were on the border, I saw people literally come to blows and, in one case, a knife fight over a packet of Kool-Aid just for a better taste in things. So clearly, it's a lot more important than you think for morale. The ability to take something bland and make it at least taste okay is a huge deal. So carry that spice kit with your favorite spices. It does make a difference. We have spices in the world for a reason.
Exactly.
You know, just saying. So yes, it really does matter. So despite what everybody says, just like, yeah, I'll sew myself up if I am properly injured. No, you won't. In the same way, carry a decent spice kit, you need it. Throwing it out. And salt. Because salt in this country, with all the heat, salt, yes, salt. You do need it. Carrying alcohol. Okay, here's the thing. I would carry a good whiskey for its medical value as well. I will point out that a good 6-pack of beer, not for the alcohol, but because beer is packed with vitamins, and one a day will do you a lot of good.
Yeah.
So if you have to meet the means to carry the weight, it's very worthwhile. Just saying. One can only, however, a day.
Yeah, I don't know that.
So that's the value for that. Pure alcohol, not really. I will point out that adding a small amount of alcohol to what you drink can help purify it if you have nothing else. So it does have advantage in that regard. A good hat. If you have to walk outside, a good hat, and if you're bald like me, definitely a good hat, or a hood like this, because after all, it's cool.
Yeah.
Gloves. Most of us are indoors people and have fairly soft hands. So lightweight, thin, breathable gloves with a good palm matter. And you can get them pretty cheap. And they will protect your hands from lugging around wood and all the rest of it. So it's worth having a set. If you're in a cold climate, of course, they have the additional advantage of keeping your hands warm. We don't have to worry about that too much, but protecting the hands is always a good idea. They're your main tools. Spend time thinking about socks and underwear. It is so important for hygiene, for comfort, and all the rest of it. Good wool and several pairs that you can change will make a massive difference to any situation. Know that. And it will keep your health better. And you do not want to have bad health when you're already in shite. So have a small kit of looking at, bar of soap, a little bit of steel wool, a toothbrush, some toothpaste, spare socks and underwear, that kind of thing. Second thing that goes along with everything, heavy duty Ziploc bags in different sizes. They're ultra light, you can get them cheap, they're easy to replace, and you will never regret being able to waterproof and separate things into stuff. And the easiest way is Ziploc. It works. And then you can throw everything in your pack. And it doesn't have to be fancy. So yeah, Ziplocs, and more Ziplocs, because they work. Absolutely, fully. You can make... Yeah?
I have a friend who, when he does that deep sea fishing, when he goes out fishing, he takes his cell phone and wraps it up in a condom. Protect it from the water.
Funnily enough, in... what was it called? Vietnam. Everybody carried condoms to keep over the end of your rifle so that the rain didn't get in, because it's tropical jungle and it rains all the time, and it would jam your rifle. So having a condom over the end kept it waterproof even in the swamps, and if you need to, you could simply fire through that, no problem. So it wasn't like you had a cap or anything over it. You could immediately use it. So absolutely, definitely, yes. So your absolute basic in the modern world, a decent thermal cover of a jacket of some variety, head and neck protection of some variety, gloves of some variety suitable to your area, definitely good socks that you can hike for a very, very, very long way in. good boots. Skin protection. I always carry Zambuk. Those of you who don't know what it is, it's like a healing salve. If you're South African, you know, you know. Zambuk and sunscreen. It works. And lip ice as well, because they all have multiple uses and it works. Why fight with what works?
So,
Some kind of sunglasses, always useful. Protecting your eyes from the sun and seeing better when you might need to see what's around is a good idea. A decent cup. This is true. A good cup that you can get a drink wherever you get the opportunity, always good to do. Preferably a lightweight metal one that you can also use to boil water on the fire in. Goes a long way. A decent knife or multi-tool. Yes. A backup snack, always a good idea. And your pressure bandage to go along with, absolutely. It will make a difference in your life. Now, having said all of that, it's the skills that come first. And the most important skill of all, weirdly enough, is your reason to survive. Now, for some people it's their religion, for some people it's their wife or husband or boyfriend or their cat. I don't care what it is, but have it. A single photograph printed out and stuck inside your wallet can give you that extra drive when everything else has gone to hell. A reason to say, you know what, I'm going to carry on. I have known so many stories where people who were fully equipped, fully supplied, fully trained, fully skilled, and they all failed because they gave up. Your mental focus matters. Not giving up matters. So decide what your reason is now and make sure you have it available, because it really, really, really is more important than any of your gear. Once you've gotten around all of that, realize that layered gear also matters. So I have a means to light fire on me, in my toolkit and in my sustainment kit, which means that because fire is that important, if all else goes to hell, I have a backup of the things that really matter. Same with a knife, or at least a blade. It's there and available. I have my blanket and bivvy in my sustainment kit, but I will carry a Mylar blanket in my toolkit. It's that extra. It will only last a night or two, but it might be all I need. So think in terms of what matters. As I say, flashlights, you don't need the big stuff. People talk about signal mirrors, only if you know how to use it. I'd rather go with a jet stream whistle, which can be heard up to 2 kilometers away, and a bright orange bandana, because that can be seen too and waved at people. But yeah, a mirror is light, small, easy to carry. I have a plastic one which weighs nothing. It works. So yes, I will point out that for the most of us, bugging out is unrealistic, getting home is not unrealistic, and emergency sustainment and evacuation is not unrealistic. So understand what you're trying to do and what you're able to do, and then from there move along with your kit. Is it nice to have a proper stove to cook on? Yes. Would I carry it? No. I would put it in the car so that if I could go in the car,
yeah, it is.
I don't carry a spade with me in my toolkit, but I do have a folding spade I carry in the car where I would more likely use it, and it's great because I'm not carrying the weight. So having backup items in higher layers, if you will. If I can take a car, I will take 2 or 3 spare blankets. I will sleep in the car. I will take a pillow because it's nice.
Yes, at least.
It's not survival, but it will make a hell of a difference if I can have it. A couple of spare changes of clothing, sure, in a car, because it matters. These are extras, but they're useful extras. Would I take a icebox? Yes, I would, because in a car it makes sense. Would I take a folding braai? Yes, I would in a car, because it makes sense. It doesn't always make sense. So you work along with what you can and what works, but you back it up from the level of, I know I can't make it without this absolute basic set of gear, and I can carry it if I'm walking. And that's where you go from. Everything else is bonus. Bear in mind as well, your preparation will include not only skills, but knowledge of dealing with environmental dangers. Are you in a place that has blizzards? Are you in a place that snows? Are you in a place that has hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires? Chicago, if you don't have a fire emergency kit, you're an idiot. Simply because they seem to have one every second weekend. Why? I don't know. But that's the thing. You know? In your house, if you're staying in the house, do you have means to manage things like blackouts and all the rest of it? Well, thanks to certain companies, yes, we do in this country. Because we do. But yeah, those are realistic civilian issues that make it worthwhile. And of course, on top of that, there are certain things that really matter to you that you also will want to take. Bear in mind they will be weight as well. So maybe the photograph of your parents, the last one you've got, and now they are passed on, that you really are not going anywhere without. That's in addition to the kit. It's important. You've got to be able to take it. Dust mask at the very least, especially in a city or urban environment. Wet wipes. And while maybe not a big deal for Spooky, for Mickey, certain feminine hygiene products, because you need them. And without them, life is miserable. And yes, they take up space and add weight, but that's the reality. Have a backup. A can opener. It's no good having 15 tins of food and no way to open them. Just saying. The N95 mask is your minimum for being out. You can go fancier, I suppose, but I doubt I would bother. Prescriptive medications, however, I've got a whole lot of meds I need, so they have to go with me. Without them, I have problem. Your contact lenses and contact lens solution, your prescription eyeglasses, yes. All of that. Spare cash, yes, all of that. Family documents, insurance policies, identification, bank account records, all saved electronically so that you can. A decent blanket I find better than a sleeping bag. Both is better still. So if you can take the car, take both. If you can't, blanket for preference. They do say if you can, climate appropriate change of clothings, and flip-flops to let your feet breathe when in camp. And yeah, it does make a difference. And they're light. Matches fire extinguisher in a car? Absolutely. You never know. It can be very useful. Pepper spray and all of that? Sure, absolutely. Useful against animals as well. You get different kinds, know how to use it. Your mess kits, which would include cups, plates, paper towels, utensils, and the means to clean them. Paper and pencil. And if you think about it, something to occupy your mind. Book, game, pack of cards makes a big difference when you're in a stressful environment, to be able to chill out and just do something. So yes, they are valuable for survival, specific to survival things. So on a boat, you want to have all the things for boats. In a car, throwing in a couple of road flares would be a great idea, and a full jack, spare tire, repair kit, and all the rest of it, because you're not carrying it. But it will matter. Desert areas, if you don't have sunscreen, you're silly. And a good hat and sunglasses. In tropical areas, mosquito net, head net, sleeping net type thing, water purification tablet, antifungal cream, sure. Foot powder, absolutely, in desert as well. Because they are things that will make a difference. And appropriate medication like anti-malaria tablets and so on, antibiotics, salt tablets and so on, will go a very, very long way. In Arctic or alpine areas, if you don't go with decent clothing, those little hand warmer packets, snowshoes and all the rest of it, it's environmentally required stuff. So you make your kit in accordance with, because that's the way to do it. There are, though they are very heavy and bulky, desalination kits you can get, which will turn seawater into drinking water. They're very expensive, but it does work. Having one on the boat, I mean, you're not going to carry it around, but having it would be great. Maybe if you're ever so lucky as to become one, astronauts have specialized survival kits, believe it or not, for all kinds of reasons. Not only for being out there, but for if you splash down in the ocean while you're waiting for being picked up. You need stuff. And the Russian ones, for example, who probably would come down somewhere in the Russian taiga, had protection items for wolves and bears, because that's what they would have to deal with when they landed back on Earth. So, you know, think where you are and what the threats are. Make a list of the threats and figure a way. If you can do better, having a full packable kitchen for the back of your car, great. Bigger lights and lanterns, great. But you're not going to be carrying it on you. That's why your layered kit is so important. But ultimately, learn stuff. Learn stuff about your area. Learn stuff about who is in your area, what is in your area, what plants and more is in your area, and do it sort of now, because doing it at the last second ain't going to work. And that's the sort of basis of it all, the bottom line. So yeah, I hope I covered all of what you were wanting to know in that regard. Spooky, I don't know, have you got any questions? You asked for the topic. He's hiding away. I think he fell asleep.
Are you talking to me?
Yes. Hello. Is there anything I
Yeah.
haven't covered that I should have? No?
Um, well, money, trading.
Yes. I did say you should carry money.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
mistake.
not a lot necessarily, but in terms of money, bear in mind you do want to have a little bit of hard cash because your banks might go down. And possibly something suitable for training if it really went full on nuclear. I know a lot of people who went with like gold or silver Krugerrands because they are valuable and they're valuable anywhere. And you can carry three, and then you've covered a huge amount of possibilities. The person that I know that did it concealed them in the strap of the handle of their suitcase, and nobody knew it was there. And they said nothing for about 2 years once they had moved country. And then when they were struggling a bit and needed some extra cash, suddenly they produced 5 or 6 of these things and were like, excuse me, where did that come from? And they were like, it was around. And yeah, you know, sold them off for a couple of thousand each and was comfortable. So there are ways.
Hard cash get
Yeah,
useless.
there's ways and means. Know this. It absolutely does work. So yeah,
Yeah, collapse. And then, yeah, South African rand probably wasn't much. So gold would be better, or a skill that might be on demand be in a post-apocalypse era, which you can offer for some food or whatever.
well, somebody said to me that one of the key things which people will fight about, if it's an extended time of emergency, is you go to and you buy like 50 cheap lighters. Because if you find nobody else, sooner or later you'll need to use them. And if you do find other people, they probably will want them. And they're trade items. And they're valuable because of their extreme functionality. We
Right.
know in history you got what they called trade arrowheads in America because iron or steel arrowheads just weren't available out in the middle of nowhere. They became currency that people would trade a lot for. So it was useful, which makes
And
sense,
a lighter is a good idea because it's light
right?
and if
Who
you have
doesn't
fun
want to use
with
it?
it would be more valuable than a brick of gold. Who wants to carry a brick of gold and you're not going to be able to
Exactly.
use it?
You've seen my water filter as well, which is great. You can get them in very small sizes as well. There's one I'd really like to get. It only does 1,000 liters, but it's the size of a pen. Now, if you've got a pack of 50 of those, I mean, as a trade item in this country, hell yeah, that would go a very, very, very long way. Simply because, you know, so when you start choosing things, think in terms of that. Small knives, cheap, light ones, yeah, they'll go a long way. Trade knives, surely. I would say gold in small amounts would be very useful. Your Krugerrand idea, if you had 10 of those, it would be more than enough and it wouldn't weigh too much. It would go a very long way, pretty much anywhere. even if, say the whole of Africa went down, once you got to Europe, if they were up and running, it would have great value. So you could use things like lighters and stuff to get there as trade items. And once you got there, you could now re-establish yourself using things like gold. So there is options, because very often disasters are localized. So sure, it does matter. How much it matters, I suppose, is arguable. And people argue the different...
Don't you think they would come and fetch you? Would come and save you from whichever disaster is happening?
I tend to be a very cynical person. While it would be nice to think that they did, I don't rely on it. Does that make any sense?
Well,
I
I
am
think
untrusting.
skills and knowledge would be worth more than gold.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I have done is I've saved onto this, which is a memory stick, 10,000 survival books. They don't take up much space. They're from all around the world. They cover every topic under the sun, from immediate survival to full-on sustainment. It has the advantage in that that side plugs into a computer, USB, and if I take that side, it plugs into my phone, which means I could use my phone to access 10,000 books with information on everything. Now, that's how big it is. It weighs nothing. I can clip that to my keys and it's there. So what I've forgotten or need to look up, I could do it. It's useful.
The big problem with that idea.
Yeah.
The problem, you do need it. You can't use it.
Well, as we were talking earlier, if you've got a one of those backpacks that's a solar panel as well, now you can.
Yeah.
Now
If you have fun.
I don't have a backpack like that, but I do have a small solar panel that plugs into my phone. It's mind-numbingly slow to charge, but it does charge, it does work. I could charge things up eventually to be able to look things up.
I've also got a small solar panel somewhere. It's useless as a house.
You know, it's not ideal, but it's a lot better than a kick in the teeth. So there are options, and that's your need, your thinking. Get a map of your area. Start marking things on it. Where is the city limit? Where is the suburban limit? Where is the rural bits? Where are the dodgy parts of town that you would really want to avoid? Where potentially are places that might hold stuff that would be worth your going to fetch? You know?
Can you write?
Can I write? What do you mean?
Books.
Yes, actually I can. I mean, I was a journalist for years, so yes, I can write.
Okay.
I
But,
have written
what-
books.
Can you paper?
Yes.
Okay. You said when about the post-apocalypse, and you then take your USB stick and then write everything down for you.
I could do that. Did you ever see that movie, The Book of Ezra?
No, never heard of a movie called that.
Go and look it up and watch it. It's a very good movie, and essentially they had a book which he was blind. That was the surprise. I've spoiled the movie for you, but the book was written in Braille. So it's called the Book of Ezra. And he eventually got to where he was going with this precious book that nobody could read, but he could. And he then read the book aloud, and people wrote it down, thus saving the knowledge. But it was secret knowledge to that point because nobody else could read Braille.
Ezra spelled as Ezra.
Yes, the Book of Ezra. It's a pretty damn good movie as well, with plenty of post-apocalyptic bouncing around and fighting and all the rest of it.
Sounds interesting.
That is good. It was a really good movie. Who's that? That black American actor. Very, very good one.
Okay, can I tell you what I found?
Yes.
There isn't one single book of Ezra movie, but rather several films titled Ezra, including a 2024 drama about a father and his autistic son, and a 2017. Eh?
Not an autistic son. It's quite an older movie. 2017. What was that?
The 2017 one is a horror film.
A horror.
Yes.
What's the write-up on that?
Well, it seems like it might be an animation.
No, it wasn't animation. I'm trying to think of that actor, not Wesley Snipes. The one. Oh,
There's one rebuilding the temple of Jerusalem
no.
after exile.
The Book of Ezra, of course, is a book in the Bible as well. So, but it's not that one. I'll tell you exactly which one it is and provide you with a link to it if my computer decides to wake
It's
up.
not about a young child from a Nigerian child refugee in London.
No.
Does it have anything to do with the Jewish law?
Not the Book of Ezra, you stupid idiot me. The Book of Eli.
Eli.
Denzel Washington. The Book of Eli. Action film set 30 years after Man-Made 2010 movie.
Book of Eli. Yeah, it rings a bell.
Okay, it's currently on Netflix. Denzel Washington.
Yes. That one.
Okay, 30 years after a nuclear holocaust.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 2010. So I'll watch it.
It's really well done. And it sort of covers the idea of how valuable knowledge can be as well. I will say that if I had to save a copy of the Bible, it wouldn't be the King James Version, which is one of the shittest translations known to man. But there you go. That's just from somebody who's actually studied the Bible. But it covers a lot of interesting things, which is worth knowing about. The idea of focus, the idea of reason for doing, and all the rest of it. So yeah, well worth the read. Mickey, you will enjoy it as well. Good action scenes and what have you.
What's it called again?
The Book of Eli.
Yeah, look at that.
It's
Denzel
currently on.
Washington's 2010. Yeah.
No, I have Netflix on there. I cancelled my subscription because I didn't like how low Netflix has become.
Blair.
But it's because I've connected other places to get the movie from.
Oh, by now I'm sure it's on several places. I mean, it's a 16-year-old movie, so...
Well, I get my videos from copyright.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We say no more. But there you go. Excuse me. That is the entirety of what I can tell you in a single session. If you can think of any more questions, do so. If you can't think of any more questions, don't so. And we will see what we can come up with for tomorrow's useful ideas. I don't know. Maybe we shall talk about alchemical formulas.
Some alchemy.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. We shall see. There's a whole collection of alchemical things out there, and I'm sure we can come up with a list of them. So, but yeah. That said, thank you for being here and putting up with me wittering on. I hope you enjoyed it. Mickey, it was
distracted with this stupid game, but I was listening.
it was awesome to have you here. Spooky, it was always awesome to have you with us, and I'm hoping that I answered at least a couple of your questions. So there is that. And then, yeah, thank you so much to everyone else that came on. And I hope you had a good time this evening. But until then, it's been a quiet night, but I suppose we're still recovering from New Year's Eve parties and all the rest of it. So, until then... Yahweh's son finally arrived. You are so late, sir. We're about to close off. But nevertheless, welcome. In time for us to say good night, sleep deep, sleep sweet, and indeed sleep with one eye open, because you never know when something might happen and you'll have to survive something suitably apocalyptic. But until then, be prepared and have a good one.
Have a good one.
Awesome, awesome. Good night.